I don't often think of movies like this in a way where a lot of thought would go into it. For the most part, most of my time is spent enjoying the movie and looking for any possible cadences that the creators had put in. Though, I believe I wasn't giving enough credit to superhero movies, or well, Marvel superhero movies, because there's a lot that would make you think. My focus in the second time of watching Infinity War was Thanos. I have a lot to say for his character and his character in the comics, but this is going to be a general overview in comparison to the character analysis I have planned. See, I don't believe in his ideals or anything of that matter, though I do believe that his goals link up well with everyone against him. Don't you think it's a bit odd on how we look down on the villain for doing something we wanted our heroes to do? Not as in we want the Avengers wiping out half of the universe, but more on us possibly being disappointed and our heroes not willing to put in the sacrifices for the greater good. Now, before you get on me for thinking about the sacrificing of heroes, I'm just posing a thought. We've seen heroes sacrifice themselves before. There's countless stories where it's done, and even some Marvel movies. But in the case of Infinity War, it's not about heroes sacrificing for a stone or two, but more on heroes needing to understand the situation and what's at stake here. Not every situation had to end in sacrifice. I know a very dire situation where the only thing needing to be done was nothing, but we had a character that let himself get overwhelmed and put himself ahead of the universe because he was upset. That character being Peter Quill, or better known as Star-Lord. While trying to be as empathetic as possible for a movie character, it still puts me in the same mindset. And I understand this was done for plot, and it's probably all in the planning of Doctor Strange, but it happened. And it happening keeps my statement still strong as ever. Meanwhile, you have many losing moments like this. Thanos follows the same road as the heroes, but he's ready to do what's needed to win, even if it's something that hurts him more than anything else could. They share this road, both our heroes and Thanos. There are many points in the journey that we see them go through, and these points have very colorful and bright indicators. This is where the second part of the video's title comes into play. The Infinity Stones aren't only the most important things in the universe, but they're also highlighters for the most important moments in our journey. I'm going to go over these moments in order of appearance since it would look the most sensible way of going about it. So let's start off with the Power Stone. This was a chilling opening with the many bodies of Asgardians laid out everywhere, and then in the picture we have Thanos dragging the body of an extremely beaten Thor. Thanos is looking for the Space Stone and confronts the man responsible for saving it, that person being Loki. Some bargaining happens between the two and it ends up with Loki holding the Tesseract getting ready to hand it over to Thanos. The thing is, they have a Hulk. Or well, had. I'm not going to say this was the worst beatdown the Hulk has ever received, but it's probably the most degrading since what was at stake, and the strength gap between the two was immense. This is where the Power Stone symbolization comes into play, not because he used it, but because he didn't. Thor and Hulk had just come off of a fight from Asgard and had encountered Thanos right after. Fatigue could be the reason on why they didn't do as well, but the fact of the matter is, they didn't have the power to contest Thanos in the first place. That's why you see Squidward stopping any interferences in the fight between Thanos and Hulk, because he believed that Thanos would just get a kick out of it. And trust me, he definitely got more than a kick out of that fight. This all being done without the Power Stone backing Thanos up, because no Power Stone was required. That's why I believe the Power Stone has some sort of poetic irony symbolism to show that they never had the power to contest Thanos anyways. The next stone obtained is the Space Stone. I wasn't exactly sure on what the situation would connect to when first approaching this, since the power of the Space Stone is so broad, though I believe it would correlate or well, contrast well to its most common use, that being transportation throughout the universe. The symbolism being that those with the stones can't escape the grasp of Thanos even with having the power to do so. The people in question being the unaware Asgardians who didn't even know about Loki bringing the Space Stone onto the ship. It wouldn't make sense to say that Loki was dishonest since no one had asked about the Tesseract, but there wasn't anyone worried about things like that since they were just recovering from the attack on Asgard by Hela. It would have been easier if Loki didn't have the stone and it had been destroyed on Asgard, but you know Loki and his love for power and mischief. Someone had ran the idea of the Space Stone being a symbol of the space between Thor and Loki, and that space being gone once the stone was gone, which leads to Thor feeling as close to Loki as possible because he believes it's the death that he's not coming back from. I'm not sure on that, but personally, I believed it sounded pretty cool, so you can take that as you will, since this whole thing is speculation anyways, and you guys can actually put what you think about the stones in the comments. Now we have the reality stone. This isn't one where the symbolism isn't the lack of, or indirectly the stone. This is closer to showcasing it, if anything. Thanos had created this whole scenario to where Gomorrah is able to match up against him and take his life. The thing is, even when claiming that he's someone that she had never cared about and always hated, she cries over his dying body. Thanos claims that he knew that she still cared about him, and from what we've seen, it looks like she does. The thing is, she believed that she had to do this one thing for the greater good of the universe. She knew what was at stake, and she took it upon herself to still carry it out. The only issue is that it didn't happen. Then you have the interaction between Star-Lord, Gomorrah, and Thanos, where we see this reoccurring incident. The question was, would Star-Lord be able to take out his love for the greater good of the universe? It was the most painful thing Quill had to do, but he was still able to do it. The issue is that it didn't matter. Quill in this moment isn't doing it for the universe, he's doing it because Gomorrah had got him to promise that he would. We see what he does when there's no promise bound to his actions anymore, but that's for later. The next stone we get, the Soul Stone. While being the most sought for stone in the universe, it wasn't difficult to find out what was behind it, especially since the way to obtain it is the symbolism itself. Sacrifice for the greater good is a thing that the movie makes a huge note of. So many situations where the heroes were completely incapable of doing something that would have taken no time for Thanos to do. A reminder about what I said in the beginning of the video. It connects over well. Think about all of the moments where sacrifice could have happened, but the heroes weren't willing. There was Thor and Loki, Vision and Scarlet Witch, except it was done multiple times, Gomorrah and Thanos, Star-Lord, Gomorrah and Thanos, Gomorrah, Thanos and Nebula, Thanos and Gomorrah, possibly Star-Lord and Thanos if you see it that way, Vision and Scarlet Witch for the last time, and the most important one, Doctor Strange and Thanos. I wanted to move Doctor Strange and Thanos to the end for the reason mentioned, and it being the most important sacrifice. Loki and Gomorrah were in this position to where someone that they massively care about is being tortured because they knew of the location of an Infinity Stone. Loki had his, and Gomorrah knew where to go. Scarlet Witch, Thanos, and Star-Lord were in a position to where they had to kill their loved one for the sake of the universe. If you can count what Star-Lord did as ignoring sacrifice, which I sort of would, then you have Quill putting his emotions ahead of the universe because of what Thanos had done to Gomorrah. Finally, Doctor Strange letting half of the universe, including himself, die, so the possible outcome of them coming out on the winning side can happen. Or the next movie can do something completely different and have Doctor Strange say, "Whoa, I didn't see that being a possible outcome," but I doubt it. The thing with sacrifice in this movie is that it's strongly connected to will. If you remember the quote of Doctor Strange, "I think you'll find our will," and then he bangs his magic saucers, "is equal to yours." The thing is, it isn't. Only a select few characters have will on par with Thanos, those characters being Doctor Strange, half of Star-Lord, and Scarlet Witch, though that's in the case of people that had to do something on the same level of pain as Thanos. I'm sure that you can have Black Panther with Wakanda and some of the Avengers in the group when talking about self-sacrifice, but I'm not going to be the one that weighs self-sacrifice versus the sacrifice of the one you love the most. In this movie, putting down the one you love the most is made to mean so much more than just fighting the fight and possibly losing your life for it. But back onto the topic of will specifically. The thing here is that Thanos does everything our characters do and can't do. He has the strength, the army, the mind, and the will. All of those things are what led him to be the victor at the end of the movie. And to summarize it all up, Soul Stone equals will. Up next is the Time Stone, where we meet the same case as the Reality Stone, where what it lays in isn't before or when it was obtained, but instead the use of the stone. I understand, my child, better than anyone. Today I lost more than you can know, but now is not the time to mourn. Now is no time at all. The same credit he gives to Star-Lord is given to Scarlet Witch in this moment. He credits her with being able to take the life of the one she loved the most, but it's too late. The crowd knows that if this was done earlier in the movie, there would have been no way for him to know when or where it happened. The thing is, he would probably confront them and then They would either lie on what happened or try not to speak to him. The problem with that is that he would have just ended up torturing it out of someone else, and who knows if they would keep quiet. Their track record so far isn't the best here. It was too late. There was no time. And now finally, we have the Mind Stone. We see no use of the Mind Stone since now he has them all, or maybe not. It's speculation, but I believe we see the first time use of the Mind Stone when Thanos ends up in this plane of nothing but water and a shrine that resembles the one we saw Thanos and Gomorrah under when they had first met. I believe we're in a pocket of the mind of Thanos since the only thing we see here is him, the shrine, and Gomorrah, and he's also without the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos had been mourning ever since he had ended the life of Gomorrah, and I believe this moment is where he's able to get into his own thought and finally accept what he's done. She asks him, "What did it cost?" And he responds with a tear going down his face, "Everything. His everything." Thanos in Infinity War is a villain that puzzled me when first approaching the movie because I couldn't see where he was coming from, but at a second glance it wasn't difficult at all. He was a hero, but just not our hero. Without mentioning any names when I was talking about Infinity War to people who haven't seen it, but had seen all the other previous MCU movies, I had asked some people what characters would give up the one thing that they care about most to save the whole universe. I was told Doctor Strange because he had sacrificed himself before against Dormammu, so he would probably do it again. Captain America because he had also done the same thing, just not to Dormammu. Iron Man because he looks like a hero that would do so, and a Hulk because, and sorry, this is a direct quote, Black Widow is fine. After they had watched the movie, I asked the same question and they brought up Scarlet Witch like expected. Thanos wasn't mentioned because what he was doing didn't seem like saving the universe at all. The thing is, when the moral compass is removed, the characters are in the same motive. It's just that Thanos had a way that he believed worked and wanted it the most. Of course, it's not respected because many people don't want to compare the heroes to the villains because villains have been made to be these characters who are evil to be evil. Yet, we see so many villains who believe that what they're doing is the correct thing. It's shown in many of the MCU movies and it exists very well in pieces of fiction. One of my favorite examples is from Hunter x Hunter, and it's a comparison between the characters Gon and Hisoka. Once you remove all the cheery protagonist things with Gon, you get a character and who in too many ways matches up to someone in the show who you should be fearing. Thanos has goals that haven't been something that anyone in the MCU strives for. Doctor Strange defends our reality but doesn't interfere with the countless problems of the planets in the universe. His role is general defense and not what's inside. There's many characters that defend Earth, but they don't do anything else to push the world to be a better place, except possibly Tony Stark. In the eyes of Thanos, no one can understand what he's doing. And he's right, because it's not morally correct at all. Thanos looks past that because he believes that the way that he's tested to work to make the universe a better place is the only possible one. He probably looks at his road as the misunderstood hero's journey and sees everyone else as children that wouldn't understand his ideals. He should know that what he's doing is wrong to everyone, but to him it's just a small cost for the greater good. With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers and they would all cease to exist. I call that mercy. Half of the population of the universe fades while he rises, smiling, looking into the sunset. And there sits a Titan, an accomplished Titan, looking at the universe that should be grateful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanos is crazy in the head. I don't do that much Marvel content, but I do plan to do a lot more, along with all of my other content that I haven't been doing as much because it takes a long time to make each one of these videos. It isn't something that I can just continuously do back to back. I wish I could with that type of speed. I would reality stone another me so I can get my workflow done as fast, or I could just like, if I had the Infinity Gauntlet, I could just snap and the videos would be there. I don't know why I was thinking on such a low scale. But I do plan to make another Infinity War video, then Marvel comic videos in general. Because there's a lot to go over. There's some stuff to go over in the MCU that I still have to get to, but it's just a lot. And I don't know exactly when or how, but I will. So subscribe to see that. If you enjoyed, leave a like. If you guys want to, you can follow my media in the description. I'm very active on Twitter, some on Instagram. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's Arizona time. And you guys can catch me on Twitch. So there that is. And thank you guys all for coming out and watching the video. I'll see you guys in the next one, hopefully. So until then, peace out and Godspeed.